As soon as it hooks. Any moment. There you go. So yeah, this is Donkey Kong Country 2 on the Game Boy Advance. Everyone's favorite version. Again, I do have a lot of experience with this version. You can tell they put in a lot of effort. I have a lot of experience with this version, but I haven't played it since it came out, essentially. So we got the time trials, which is Diddy's Dash. You have to, much like the first game, you have to beat the whole game first to get access to all the levels for this. So we got bonus games, which is much like just a shortcut. It's kind of a fast way to get to the games, as opposed to having to go on the world map. Welcome to bonus stage, or in this case, bonus game. Let me know if the audio is good. What's in options? I see. Got ourselves some cheats. That's pretty good. Well, we gotta go with the timed old tradition. If they're giving us 3 characters, we don't have a lot of options, do we? So much like the first game, we have a intro. That's basically just taking some stuff from the manual, putting in its own cutscene. I figure for this, we might be able to get away with bumping up the volume a little bit. I also lowered the volume of the emulator itself, so I'm not sure if it actually can get much louder. Well, it can. Okay, it can on OBS's end. Because the Game Boy Advance just do be extremely loud, so I, have the volume in BizHawk. Yeah, you're not wanted at all, Donkey Kong, it's true. You know, speaking of the retro achievement set for the first game, absolutely utterly deranged that my conclusion is they made Donkey Kong mandatory for the time attack segments. So essentially, if you lost Donkey Kong, you were more or less fucked and you had to redo the time trial. Hey, Gnosis Doc. I did do all the time trials, though. I got S ranks on all of them. I even ranked in the leaderboards decently on a few of them. I think I got, 9th place on some of them. A lot of them I didn't, though, because, a lot of the leaderboard stuff is, very close margins. So, a lot of it gets really close together. Yeah, they're trying. They're trying to do their best to be meticulous and have a awesome, epic story. Yeah, I'm probably, never say never, but I'm probably not going to get a mastery on the retro achievements for this. It's probably easier than it would be for the other one that's almost impossible. On the surface level, it looks easier, but I think the time trials are going to be too painful. So I don't really expect to actually get it, or even want to. A golden cream. Ah, they're getting meta. Look at that. They're getting so meta. But yeah, I owned this. Technically, I still do own it, maybe, but the cartridges have been lost to time. It's funny, I have all of the full game packaging, the boxes, the manuals, all preserved, but I cannot find the carts for 2 and 3 on Game Boy Advance. But allegedly I own them. It is a good name. Alright, so now we have the whole actual game to play. It depends on how you approach. It depends on how you approach things, Pepe Cow. There are good retro achievement sets, and there are bad retro achievement sets. And not everything is grindy. Some stuff is pretty straightforward, pretty normal. Other things, not as much. It really just depends. You get kind of mixed results like many things in life. The thing that I tend to... So this is the new collectible, by the way. Golden feathers. So these are essentially our cameras. Same sort of deal. It's the same sort of collectible. They just had to add another new thing to it. So golden feathers are the new thing. But yeah, when it comes to retro achievements, it's more about, like... it's more about, for me at least, the appeal is being able to play games in a different way, learn new things about the games, and get better at some of the games that I like. And things like that. Thanks for the follow. So that's really kind of where I clock in with it. Is I tend to be really interested if the retro achievement sets are good and they're actually teaching me things and getting me to engage with new parts of a game. That's essentially like the core appeal for me. It like I am more than capable of just noping out of a bad set or just doing like a part of it and then just moving on, you know? So like there's gonna be some of these that are just rotten, and like I was talking about earlier, some of them are rotten. Like the last remaining achievements for Donkey Kong Country 1 on the GBA are rotten because they want you to do minigames perfectly that don't work correctly, right? I'm not gonna learn anything from doing that. What I did like about doing most of the... Well, that's really saturated, wow. What I did like about doing most of the rest of the achievement set for Donkey Kong Country 1 on GBA is that it essentially had me learn more in depth what the differences are with a weird version of one of my favorite video games, right? So I got to experience that and learn more about that and the nuances of how they made it and developed it and stuff, right? So I thought that was pretty neat. But I definitely had my cutoff point with that. They do take community feedback. It depends on the person, of course, because everyone's different, right? Like, some people will make a thing and then not care and move on with whatever, right? And they won't improve it or care about what people say. That's just life, you know? But there are, like, a good number of people who will take feedback into account and improve things. In some cases, some sets will actually get banned, or they'll get moved to what's called a subset. Subsets are essentially ultra-hard achievement sets that are not intended for normal play. And subsets are basically the real sickos stuff, right? They're for people who are essentially speedrunners, glitch masters, things like that, you know? People who really go super deep on a game. And that's essentially what the subsets are for. There are certain things about this version that I'm noticing again, because I did play this a lot back in the day, but it was old memories. There are certain things I'm noticing about this version that are interesting. They do improve some things about this. Other things they don't. It really seems to be a mixed bag. So, like, for example, collecting those stars is a lot harder on the Super Nintendo, because if Diddy's just in a direction like he is on the rope now, he would only collect what's on the side of him. and not over to the right side, but they made it so he can actually have a larger hitbox and can collect stuff on either side like so. Because before, if you wanted to do that, you had to, you couldn't, actually. Essentially, you couldn't. So that's like an interesting thing they did there. They also seem to have, in general, just made the movement on the ropes better. Like, it's just straight up an improvement. Moving on the ropes and stuff. So, like, that's pretty neat. I am aware, though, that there are some things they did with the movement of this game that's still botched and wrong that carried over from the previous Game Boy Advance game. So it's not all perfect here. Like, they still don't have any momentum boosts. It sure is washed out. Man, the original Cranky house in this second game looks so much fucking better, chat. It looks so much better. Okay, so there's an achievement for just getting all these. Like, you just look at all the hints and you buy them. I'm gonna just ignore all this because it's just like, you just get banana coins and you just come back later and you just, you know, buy them all, right? There's not really any need to be it there now. That's interesting. They made this, like, zinger way smaller. They made him way smaller and further higher up. That's funny. Some parts of the audio are a bit improved, sort of. It seems like they kind of put in a little more effort to make the music less bad. It's still unfortunate, but they're trying with what little they have, you know? The Game Boy Advance did not have a sound chip and ran audio off the CPU. So, like, you didn't have anything really to work with when you came to these conversions. So, you didn't really end up getting to do a whole lot to make these not kind of just a bit desperate and dire when it comes to the audio. But yeah, there are... Okay, so what was... Fuck. Right, it was over. I think it was over to the left. That bonus. Well, that's our first death. Not that it really... It was inevitable we were going to die. It was inevitable. Hey, Tommy Fists. No. I don't much care for a lot of the sounds that they do in these Game Boy Advance remakes either. They're not really particularly good. A lot of the audio stuff is kind of just not my cup of tea here. Fuck. Not my cup of tea. But also, I'm not even sure how well they could have even, like, interpreted that, you know? Like, how well could they have done it? All that for just a banana bunch, goodness. There's no, achievement for getting all the Kong letters in this set, which is good. I am glad for that. It was sort of interesting in the first game, because they put the Kong letters in some pretty damn rude spots, and that kind of made it sort of interesting to engage with. Look at all those banana coins I didn't get, chat. I'm a fool. I didn't get them. It's over now. I'm never gonna be rich. There's definitely no other ways to get banana coins in this game. I'm actually pretty sure they added those coins in. I don't think those were in the original. So one example of, So you see that trick I just did? That trick is extremely fucking hard to do on the Super Nintendo version. I actually learned about this trick, 2 days ago. I started working on the Donkey Kong Country 2 Retro Achievements subset. And what's interesting about that subset is for people like me who have played the game a shitload, it's a learning tool to teach you how to speedrun the game. And it teaches you glitches, just that like fun glitches. And it teaches you speedrun skips. And that's one of the speedrun skips. It's a hell of a lot easier to do on this version, though. Oh gosh, this is really fucking washed out. Yeah, that was like hilariously easy to do in this version. Probably because they don't, in the physics, because their physics are so different, they don't seem to punish you. Let's do that normally now. Let's do that normally now. They don't seem to punish you for, words are hard. Words are hard. I'm still quite tired and sleepy. They don't seem to punish you for hitting walls and obstacles on the physics engine for this game, like they do on the Super Nintendo. Because if you hit like walls on the Super Nintendo, you can't change the direction of the Kong once you've done that. So if you, like, you know, hit any of these like crates or barrels on the sides and stuff, then it's just gonna like keep you in that spot. That's sort of how that works. But yeah, this is like very, the underwater parts are like very bizarrely like washed out. Like the contrast is just like maxed. It's like if you did that on your TV, right? That's kind of what this looks like. You just fucked up your contrast on purpose. Or you had maybe a broken television. And that's sort of the energy this is giving me. So a little unfortunate here. A little unfortunate. On Guard seems to be absolutely identical to the to his Donkey Kong Country 1 counterpart. Like they didn't change anything about how he worked other than give him that ability that he always had in this sequel. I don't know. That's probably... I would say probably not. By the time that these came out, the Game Boy Advance SP had already long since been out. And while I own an original Game Boy Advance, still do, I also still have my SP. I don't know, like, I basically, once I got the SP, I never went back to the original GBA. Why would you, right? I kind of feel like most people probably felt the same. But I don't really know how wide the adoption rate was for the Game Boy Advance SP. I would imagine it was pretty wide. It would have had to have been, right? They probably got to double dip pretty hard with, like, just a better version of the console later. Yeah, well, what they ended up doing, Tommy, is they ended up, like, having different modes that you could select in the options for these games. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance is one example of that, where they would give you like 3 different modes. They would give you 2 LCD modes, one for the GBA SP, one for the original Game Boy Advance, and then they would give you one for the Game Boy player. And for whatever reason, these ports, not ports, the remakes rather, these remakes on GBA didn't offer these options for some reason, even though these came out well after the Game Boy Advance SP. Little weird that they don't offer that, because that's a solution that they came up with. Unfortunate sound for Radley here. So yeah, like, yeah, it is weird, because yeah, no, that existed. More games should have used it, but it did exist. So yeah, like, you could just make your own, you just get your preset palettes in your game, and problem solved, right? Yeah, I can't imagine too many people actually used them, like, any Game Boys before backlights or front lights. I can't imagine many people used them without some kind of worm light. Like, it was such an annoying problem that I find it hard to believe many people were actually, like, earnestly dealing with that, you know? Because it's such a friggin' hassle. It's hard to say, though. It's not like we have any numbers on these things to look at. And if there were numbers, they're long since lost to time. Yeah, I can already sort of get a general vibe check on this, where, like, I don't think I would get much out of doing a mastery or full achievement set for this game. So I don't really expect much Chivo hunting getting accomplished on this version, because, it's not the worst thing you could play, right? But it ain't great. I think if nothing else, the soundscape is kind of what deters me more than anything else. Like, the music is okay in terms of the interpretation, but it's like, the sound effects are pretty bad. The sound effects are pretty damn bad on this one. There's, like, a lot of, like, just unfortunate loud and shrilliness to it that I don't much care for. Like, especially that Radley stuff with, like, that sound he makes when he jumps. That, not a big fan of that. Not a huge fan of that. Could do without. Is that like a fart noise? In fact, I should probably turn this down a bit. It is a Game Boy Advance audio. It's probably coming in a bit too loud. There we go. Yeah, I also owned that version. I don't think I do anymore. I'm pretty certain I sold that, but I don't remember offhand if I still have it. I think I got rid of it. I do like that touch of them adding the ghost, because he shows up again as a different boss later as a ghost. Like, I think that's a fun touch. Like, I appreciate that. Like, I think my general takeaway is I wouldn't call these Game Boy Advance remakes, like, soulless, right? Like, I wouldn't clock in on that. They're not soulless. They're just not ideal versions today to play. But, like, when these came out, I was there for that. Oh, they just changed the warp location? Okay. That's not where that was originally. I wasn't even trying to get the warp. When these came out originally, they were sufficient, by and large. Because, like, there were not any practical, normal ways to play Super Nintendo games, especially ones such as these portably, right? So, like, just being able to do it at all was... It was, like, an appealing thing. It was nice. Because, like, at that point, I'm not sure if there was anything, except for maybe I vaguely recall, but I think it's still too early. I think it was still too early, but, like, I remember there was, like, one or two people who made a, like, portable Super Nintendo, but it was, like, more of, like, a fan project. It wasn't, like, something that you could actually... It wasn't something you could actually, like, buy or commission or anything. And that's right, Rhubarb Gatorade. And so, like, it was more just of a concept, and it didn't work well. It had bad battery life. I'm sure it was uncomfortable. It was probably super heavy. But I remember there was somebody who made something like that and, like, showed it on YouTube or something. But that was, like, really early, right? And these actually had come out well before even that existed. you know, even if it was just in someone's basement. So I found, I think that these being portable at all was still interesting. It's just that now, in an era where we have solved, in so many ways, in every way, really, we've solved portable gaming. For, like, retro games in particular. It's not... The future is that we live in now has not been a kindness to these types of versions of games. But in their time, the appeal was absolutely there. Like, there was obvious compromise, but, like, for most of us, it was good enough just to be able to get them on the go or whatever. Yeah. The Donkey Kong Land games are certainly very interesting. They are very rough, but that's mostly the first one. The first one is, like, essentially a bootleg. Like, the first Donkey Kong Land's like an official bootleg. It's kind of the energy that has. It is definitely the most interesting because of that, though. Squidder's webbing work better here? I'm not sure. It's faster, I think. Like, I think it like, has faster travel time. I never really found that Squidder's webs were, like, a problem. Unless you mean, like, the actual, like, platforms. I won't have an answer for you until I get to the, Webwood stage. So, we'll have to wait for a bit. Because the platforms don't really get truly tested until you're on that stage, and that's more than halfway through the game, so... I recall them being better in this version, but that's just an old memory. Can't say for sure. But that's, like, kind of one of the things that I think about, right, is, definitely a part of what I do on this stream. Like, a pretty decent chunk of what I do on this stream is that I look back on gaming history through different eras and stuff. There's definitely a lot of that I do. Obviously, the GameCube is one of the bigger spotlights for that in general. But I definitely check out other things. It's too bad that, like, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy is, like, such a toxic video game to stream that the only way that I can hold that stream together at all is by, having a co-host at this point, so I'm kind of dependent on the availability of other people to, finish that game out. Because, that's just not a game that, makes for a very good stream environment for me, without a co-host, because it's so fucking rancid and toxic that it just puts me in a terrible fucking mood. But yeah, in general, the musical efforts here to reinterpret the soundtrack are definitely of a higher quality than the previous remake of this, like for Donkey Kong Country 1. I would describe the music as passable. It's not good, but like it's acceptable. I think the Mario Advance games are fascinating, and I do want to cover them on the stream soon. I think that there's a lot of fun to be had from just checking those out. I'm not sure how soon I'll do it, but I definitely think I want to do it. Yeah, they had to make some odd choices. Make some odd choices with some of the instrumentation. Yeah, see, that's different with the physics. That's, like, wildly different with how those jumps work. You can't actually do anything like that in the original game. In general, though, like, it's not something that I want to, like, bring too much, attention to on stream because it gets a little repetitive to mention it. just that, like, all three of these remakes have completely different physics from their original counterparts. They, much like the Super Nintendo trilogy, they kept them consistent across all three games. But with these ones, they're completely alien, completely different from the Super Nintendo ones, but they did make them consistent with their GBA interpretations. So that's essentially kind of my spiel on that. But essentially, so many things will not work on the Super Nintendo version that work here, and then vice versa, where some things will just that were really great about the Super Nintendo version just will not work on this version with the physics. The thing that's the most unfortunate about these versions in general is that they eat your inputs. And it depends on the demands of each stage, but like whenever you do time trial stuff, which I did a bunch of recently on off stream with the first game on GBA, they eat your inputs. It's like it's not even like some theory. I confirmed it. There were like various points I attempted time trials in the game, just consistently would eat my inputs on certain parts of stages. So that's something that I had read in a Retro Achievements comment for this set. Someone had pointed out that it does it on this version too. So that's interesting to me. It doesn't, and essentially, you know, is one of those, fuck, that was kind of my fault. It was one of those things that, makes it so I'm probably not gonna get many achievements on this set, which is fine. So kind of for this stream, it's not really about achievement hunting. It's just about checking out the versions, and Retro Achievements just happens to be on. It's kind of the vibe here. So yeah, I don't expect to get a whole lot of big PP gamer stuff from streaming this game today. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, people don't really stream stuff like this, right? I like being the kind of person who can do that for people, you know? Especially someone like me who is qualified to even talk about these games more in depth. Because I've put in so many freaking hours into them. So, like, I like being able to do that and do stuff that other people won't do. Like, you'll never see anybody like Dino Please or, you know, Hollyheck maybe, or, you know, Macaw45 or whatever stream anything like this ever. So, like, I think it's cool that I'm able to do that. Especially within, like, a reasonable time frame, right? Like, I can easily get this game done in a single stream. It's not a problem. If anything else, I'm actually taking my time. Because I'm, like, getting bonuses I don't really need to get and stuff. But I'm definitely not planning to get everything in this version. I've done it before, though, like, on an actual GBA back in the day. But I don't have these games memorized for their bonuses. Hi, Super. Welcome in. It is rather unfortunate just how, like, botched all the reds are. I often forget where the warp is for this one, but they've actually might have made it a slightly more obvious in this version. I don't know. Isn't the warp, like, supposed to be around here? Problem is if you do it for too long, you'll die. The Sonata. Yeah, it's really literally red hot. There it is. Nope. Wait, what? It acted like I went in something, and then what? That was weird. It literally gave me the feedback that I got into, like, a barrel or something. What the hell happened there? That was really strange. See, part of the problem, too, is that you can't even trust the warps to be in their original locations, because these being remakes that had none of the original assets, and they basically just went off of, like, sprite rips that were redrawn over from emulation, Like the development of these remakes is really botched. They did not have any core knowledge of these games, which is why they're so weird. It's why they're so scuffed and have so many bizarre differences that don't really make any sense because they did not know about, like, in-depth details. So in some ways, parts of these remakes are made from memory. Like, you know that, like, Super Mario World ROM hack that kind of got some attention a while back? Super Mario World made from memory. These remakes are not too far off the mark from that at times. So, like, there will be a lot of points in these remakes where the warps will just not exist where they originally existed on Super Nintendo. So they'll, like, just shift them around or whatever because they didn't know where they were originally, or they thought that it would be better to be put somewhere else. And it was really egregious with the first game. So Rambi is really fucked up in this. I think we're gonna do our best to not use Rambi as much as possible. Rambi is just completely untenable. That much is really obvious just based off of how that went. So I'm gonna just kind of not use him when the game will let me. But, yeah, so the first game, like GBA remake, it just straight up did not know about several warps that were in the game, so they just didn't add them. Which really was interesting, because that was the last thing I streamed like a couple days ago. Seems about right, yeah. And yeah, that was really wild for them to just not know about certain, like, warps, so they just didn't exist. Are we dead? Okay, good, we're not. Oh, no, we are. See, on the Super Nintendo, that wouldn't have happened. On the Super Nintendo, we would have been alive. It would have actually brought us back up. It's actually a lot more generous on the Super Nintendo than it is here. I'm actually not even really sure what they wanted me to do there other than have Rambi. The problem with Rambi is that they fucked him up. So, see what he's doing here? He's hopping whenever you do this. He's not supposed to do that. So, it's actually a jump that he's doing, so when you're on the balloon and you do that, you can fall off very easily. He also has, like, a very weird, like, rapid acceleration to his movement that is really strange. He's really weird in this. At least he doesn't fly off when he automatically hits. At least there's that. I think so. I think that they wanted to just have something that fit the Game Boy Advance's lack of a sound chip more, so they decided to just get a new soundtrack. Like, that's kind of my takeaway from that decision of replacing the soundtrack. It's like a bonus here. Yeah, I figured there was. Weird sounds with Rambi on this one. Really weird sounds. That is actually quite a long stretch without a checkpoint, huh? Like that, only a checkpoint now. Interesting. I mean, I know it's like that in the original, too. It's just that it's a lot faster to get here in the original. Why, see, it happened again. Why did that happen? Like, the game was acting like I hit a barrel when there was none there. That is so weird. That is so weird. It's like a weird bug. Yeah, I'm not sure if the next stream will be Donkey Kong Country 3 on GBA. I might give it like a slight pause because it depends. Because from my experience, if I play too much of a one thing that's too similar consecutively on a stream, people tend to be like, I'm bored now. I don't want to watch this. You did something too similar to this the last time. Boring. And I know that not everybody thinks that way, but trust me, as someone who's been doing streaming long enough, that sure is a thing that happens. So sometimes you have to give things a bit of a reprieve in order for people to continue their interest. Okay. I think that's a new animation. Maybe it isn't, though. I'm not as autistic about this game as I am the first game. I think most people know that, though, except for new people, of course. There's a pretty big rift in my experiences between Donkey Kong Country 1 and Donkey Kong Country 2. Jesus, that seemed really close. Yes, they did, Sonata. All of the sounds that are from these remakes are taken from Donkey Kong 64. Pretty cursed, right? But that is literally what they did. It's a good catch, though. I'm glad you noticed that. 'Cause I also, for those who don't know, I did a full playthrough of Donkey Kong 64 not that long ago. That sure was a saga. And by full playthrough, it was not 100%, but it was like, you know, a normal playthrough. Some members of chat really want to go in for the, that 100%, though. They want that to happen. But it'll be too expensive for chat, I feel. So one of the biggest things that's the worst about these remakes that I've noticed is the barrels are just extremely cursed. The way that the barrels work is like so wildly, massively different from the original games that it's like, it fucks you up pretty badly, especially if you have any muscle memory for it. Which I do. Yeah. At least they kept that in. That happens in the original game, too. It's funny. Megami. Wow, Squawks sure controls completely differently. Okay. Wow, he is way faster. Holy shit. Wow. You don't even have to hit anything. You can just zoom through everything. What the fuck? I didn't remember it being this deranged. Like, oh god. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just weird. Like, you don't even have to engage with anything as long as you know where you're going and know where to, like, not hit things. I mean, it's like for Screech's sprint that I could just easily just run into a bramble because I'll just be moving at Mach speed. That actually might make it really hard because it's just going to be, like, really hard to control him. But, oh, you just mean it's like a console? I mean, they had different games on them. I kind of felt like, based off of what I've experienced a bit of and just seen a lot of on Twitch, it sort of comes off to me like a lot of the library of the Game Boy isn't that good, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of really, really rough shovelware of really, really rough precision platformers that don't work right. And like really rough action games. Like, there's not all bad games, of course. There's some great games on there, but like, I don't know. There's a lot of dumpy garbage on the original Game Boy. A lot of dumpy garbage. There is on the Game Boy Advance too, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know, like, a lot of Game Boy games are just fucking impossible, and not for like a good reason. The Game Boy Color is just a weird console because it's like it was a halfway point. It was sort of like they wanted more money, but the Game Boy Advance wasn't ready, so they made the Game Boy Color. That's essentially the whole energy of that console. It's like not even really like a console that stands on its own, because it had so much like crossover with the original Game Boy, you know? Like, they'd have a Game Boy Color version of like, you know, existing Game Boy game, or, you know, they would have a DX version and all this other stuff, right? So it kind of got a little bit strange at times. Like, it sort of felt like the Game Boy Color didn't have as much of its own identity because it was still so married to the original Game Boy. It still has some cool stuff on there though, and I definitely have not fully explored it, like in the least. But in general though, all of the Game Boys have a consistent legacy of having a lot of dire shovelware on them. Like, that is just true across the board for all three of them. I'm willing to bet that the Game Boy Advance probably has the lowest quality ratio out of any of the consoles, simply because of the sheer quantity of games and how many of them are bad. I guarantee you a lot of them are just absolutely rancid garbage. Because doesn't like the Game Boy Advance have like 1,000 games or like 1,200 games or something? I think it does, like in total. I think if you're just trying to count everything across the board. I could be wrong though, but I think that's around the number that it has. But yeah, anyway, just thought I would catch up with chat a little bit there, because obviously when you're playing a game like this, you can't, you know, give full attention to chat. So they made Cleaver's hand and arm more visible on the sprite. They added the lightning. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's the same boss fight so far, which is good. I would prefer the boss to stay the same, thank you. That was like something from GBA Donkey Kong Country I found insane, is that they felt the need to change the bosses because, I don't know, they just wanted them to be different. So all the bosses were just totally retooled. Okay, I need you to... He might actually hit me here. Yeah, I didn't really have any way to get away from him. I kind of hit him with the cannon too early, so I sort of set myself up for failure on that one. There we go. I think I'm dead. Nope, nope, not yet. Really? There we go. You're telling me, Sonata, I was forced to do that again off stream, working on the hero mode achievement, which is interesting, and I'm almost done with that. But I had the hero mode in Donkey Kong Country on the GBA is you have to play only Diddy with no checkpoints and no Kong barrels. Tommy Fists, thank you for subscribing. It's very appreciated. Thank you for the support. But yeah, so I had to do that fight again only as Diddy with no Donkey Kong, and it was terrible. I had to like do it like, try it like 3 times, and it's a really long fight when you only have Diddy. So it was pretty bad. Okay, that was productive. I guess I didn't want Rambi anyway. I would only want him for bonuses, and then we're not getting bonuses. I think I've made a pretty, I'm gonna make a line in the sand and say that there's no fucking way I'm gonna do a mastery of this version. Just based off the vibes It's failing the vibe check. It's failing the vibe check pretty hard, so I'm not interested. This will be a once through for me, thank you. Oops, I was not looking. That was my bad. The streamer plight of looking at chat at the wrong moment. Do you enjoy that extra barrel sound effect they added? A little doop, doop. Yeah, it's pretty rough. You know, there are some people ill enough that they've speedrun this version. It's true. But, you know, that's the thing, is there's always people who speedrun, like, bad versions of games, or just bad games in general. Just people who are sick and twisted like that. Just like, yeah, I'm all about those fucking speedruns of terrible fucking games. Hell yeah. A fried potato. It's so dark. Oh gosh, we needed glimmer, chat. Holy shit. It was so fucking dark without glimmer. Oh my gosh, how we were even seen and knowing where to go at all is just crazy. I'm glad that glimmer's here. So much like the previous game, the swimming physics are the same for the GBA. And just that same observation of, boy howdy, they sure made you move at Mach speed when you, like, swim up and mash the button. Which is good, by the way. That's actually, like, something I like. Because it lets you get through these levels faster. As long as you don't accidentally run into something, of course. But yeah, no, it's like kind of it's kind of just a funny thing where some of the physics changes are actually good. Like, not everything here is bad. Most of it is, though. But there's, like, every now and then I see something, I'm like, yeah, that's just... I like that. I like it that it lets me go faster. But, unfortunately, there's not too much of that to experience in these versions. It's mostly just kind of just a downgrade with that. Yeah. I think these guys explode themselves much faster than they do in the original, because I think in the original I would have been able to get through that without any incident. I would love to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. That looks like an awesome game. Unfortunately, I am poor. Like, that's just the reality, is the Switch 2 is way too fucking expensive. Especially with Canada and the prices and stuff. Well over $100 for one video game. Consoles, like... How much was it again in Canada? It was like... I think it's like $640 before tax or something. So you're like paying like over $700. The console... Pro controllers like $110 or $120 or something. Just crazy prices, crazy prices. I cannot afford that shit. Even if I wanted to, I just can't. Like, essentially, when it comes to the Switch 2, I've never felt more priced out of a hobby than I have with that. But honestly, like, outside of, like, Donkey Kong Bonanza and a general passing interest in Mario Kart World, I'm not really that compelled by the launch lineup of the Switch 2, because it's pretty anemic. It's not really that interesting other than those two games. Like, there is really nothing else other than those two games. Like, several months later, you get, like, the Kirby Air Ride sequel, which is another racing game. after Mario Kart World. And, like, it's a very small lineup. Most of my interest in a Switch 2, especially for an earlier adoption, would be just to have a good Switch emulator, right? That's essentially, like, the main thing, because the Switch 1 backwards compatibility on the Switch 2 is emulation, which is why Nintendo did a massive sweep of killing all Switch emulation on the internet, because they were doing it themselves and wanted to make sure that they had exclusivity over that. You would think that, Fried Potato, but that's not what happened. Has Season 2 started me? I still haven't checked out the Fallout show at all. I've been meaning to. I just haven't. Much like with a lot of things, I just haven't got around to it. The fervor for DKC, well, growing up with it's a part of it for me. My thoughts on Donkey Kong Country as a franchise are kind of mixed. My thoughts on that are kind of mixed, to be honest. There are a bunch of things with the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, especially the first game. Especially the first game. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do, but thanks. Okay, I guess I'm just not getting that now. I forgot what is even over here. What even is over here? I guess we'll try and see if we can figure it out. It's been a hot minute since I've done any of this. I don't normally play these games for, like, getting extra shit. I actually think this might even be added into this version. I don't think this is on Super Nintendo. Yeah, I think this is a GBA exclusive. Maybe it isn't. If it's a DK coin, maybe they made it more obvious in this version. Yeah, I think they just made it more obvious in the signposting. But yeah, I have complicated thoughts on the franchise of Donkey Kong Country and my thoughts on it. Donkey Kong Country 1's a very flawed game. It has a really fucking terrible signposting if you're trying to get, like, the secrets and stuff. And I would even go as far as to say that I think that it's a fucking terrible game to try and 100%. Because I actually did that recently, and that's one of the things I appreciated about Retro Achievements, is it gave me a reason to do that again. And, I hadn't engaged with 100%ing the first Donkey Kong Country in a very, very long time. And my memories of doing it in the past is that I really fucking hated it. But it had been, like, probably, like, 15 plus years since I've actually done it. And, it was cool to do it again. Just to know what I thought about that. And, as it turns out, my younger self was correct. It's rancid and still bad to play the game in that way. So, that aspect of the first game's really bad. They did a poor job with it in many, many, many ways that are kind of too much autism to talk about while I'm trying to play through this. But, suffice to say, I covered pretty much all of that in my last stream anyway. It's a game that I really enjoy going fast in because I have the skills for it. It's a very fun game to speedrun. Trying to get everything, not as much. But also, there's, like, some bad level design problems with Donkey Kong Country 1. Like, they have some camera issues, they have other issues. Where the fuck am I going? Okay, there we go. I'm gonna save my game, in fact. Haven't done that yet. But yeah, there's, like, definitely some flaws, without a doubt. But it is very fun once you actually get good at it. But most people would never get good at it, because most people are kind of, like, one and done with the game, typically. That's pretty normal. They're like, well, I did the game, I beat it, I moved on. Never playing this again. Anyway, that's the game. And that's pretty normal, right? But I did not have many games growing up. I had a very small selection. So what games I had, I usually played a lot of, and Donkey Kong Country 1 was one of those. So I ended up getting really good at it because it was one of the better games that I had on the Super Nintendo at the time. And, yeah, and then, like, this game, right? Like Donkey Kong Country 2. This kind of jank Game Boy Advance version aside. Boy, this is sure green, huh? A little too green, perhaps. Yeah, this jank version aside, there is a massive amount of improvements with this one. Like, just in terms of design and stuff like that. Like, just looking at the Super Nintendo ones. The levels are way better. The Kong dynamic is way better. Dixie and Diddy are, like, kind of a perfect duo in terms of, like, gameplay. Because it covers two separate things. Diddy is, like, the, horizontal high-speed demon. And Dixie's, like, the safer kind of, parachute sort of, character, right? Gives you a lot more wiggle room, lets you skip some stuff on levels if you know how. Gives you more time to kind of think about what you're doing. And then, of course, being able to just throw the Kong around and do some stuff with that is also interesting, the whole buddy system. So, like, there's a lot of things that they drastically improved upon. And also the bonuses are more interesting. Bonuses in the first Donkey Kong Country are terrible. They're just, like, the same ideas repeated over and over and again with no variety. Where there's a lot more variety in, the bonus rooms in this. So, like, there's a lot of things they improved on a lot with the sequel. And in my opinion, makes it one of the best 2D platformers of all time. Because it's so well balanced, and it controls extremely well on the Super Nintendo. It just has... It checks off a lot of the boxes. It's just, like, very well made, and it offers a good amount of challenge and stuff like that. So I think that's really, like, kind of the thing, is that... So you got, like, the second Donkey Kong Country. Really great, really amazing. First game's kind of okay for a first entry. And then you have the third Donkey Kong Country, which is a really, really weird game because there's a lot of cool stuff in it, but it's bloated to absolute fuck. So it ends up being this long, arduous slog that takes 5,000 years to get through. And it's a lot harder to enjoy that one because of that. So it's a bit of a mixed bag of a trilogy when you get down to it. It's just a lot of problems with that third game. But, you know, still has its amusement, still has its fun points. But it's definitely way too long for its own good, just has way too much feature creep. So those are my thoughts, like, my brief sort of thoughts on the franchise. There are people who don't like, Donkey Kong Country all that much, like, as a trilogy, which is fine. Like, I can understand some of that perspective for sure, especially since it's so uneven as it is. Where I kind of get a little more perplexed is when people start hating on, like, this game, the second game on Super Nintendo. That's a little more perplexing to me because I'm kind of like, well, what's the problem, right? Like, what is it not doing for you? Is it just the aesthetic? Because I can understand if it's just, like, the aesthetic for people, right? Where it's like, I don't like Monkey, you know, or whatever, but... It's sort of that same thing where, like, a lot of people's reasons for not liking the Fallout franchise is because of the aesthetic. They don't like, things being dead and apocalyptic and brown. Which I understand, like, there's not really any way to contest that, you know? It's like, well, if you don't like how that looks, you don't like how that looks, right? Yeah, it's pretty correct, Sonata. As much as I like Crash Bandicoot Warped, it's got problems. It's got a lot of the similar problems. I've thought about that in the past. It's like they both have too many gimmick levels. They kind of feel like they're trying too hard to be less of a platformer in parts. It's weird. But I can see that comparison being reasonably apt. A lot of people do agree the second Crash Bandicoot is like the best one. Well, that singer really moved in quickly. Yeah, so this is like the thing that I really dislike about these GBA remakes is the barrels are really fucked up. That one might have been my fault, but when I was doing the time trials on the GBA DKC, I hard confirmed that the barrels lie about their placements, and when you hit the button, even though you visually see it, where it is located, it'll snap back to the previous location because it's not the actual timing, even though the visuals indicate to that. The timing is that bad. Like, it's not actually matching up all the time with what is visually represented. So in some cases, if you really look closely, you can sometimes see the barrels snap back to their previous location that they were just at in the rotation and then kill you. I think that's what happened with that one, but that one might have been my fault. But I know in the previous game, it absolutely did that in the remake, the GBA remake. Because I kept dying in Snow Barrel Blast on the trials, and I was wondering why it kept happening, and I eventually caught what the barrels were doing, and I'm like, oh, you were just made wrong. I see. All right. Thankfully, there are not many stages in this game that leverage the barrels in that way. Like, they're pretty low number. There's way more of them in the first game. So it ends up being a lot more rotten in the GBA remake of the first. Hi, Baxter. Like, these ones, it's fine because they just only go in a certain cardinal direction. It's the ones that rotate like this where they can, like, lie to you. And they also move it, some of them move at different speeds. Like, they don't move at consistent, rotational speeds when they do that, so some of them are like arbitrarily faster and slower than each other, which can also just end in your demise. You know, it's one of my favorite remixes of Sticker Brush Symphony. It's the Smash Brothers Brawl one. That one's really good. That one's quite delightful. Yeah, the Brawl OST goes pretty hard. Now, going back to a previous topic about, like, retro achievement stuff, right? If you want an example of a bad retro achievement set, Smash Brothers Melee's retro achievement set is the one for you. If you want just absolutely grindy garbage, that's the one. So there's a thing in retro achievements that's like a qualification for beating a video game. And Smash Brothers Melee is a bit of an oddity, because it's really, really easy to roll credits in that game. So you kind of have to wonder to yourself what counts as beating Smash Brothers Melee, because like you could just play classic mode once, beat it, roll credits, and then that's it. That's beating the game, right? Or you do like adventure mode and same deal, right? So for the for it to be marked off as beaten for Smash Brothers Melee on retro achievements, like not like a, you know, a mastery, not getting every achievement, just, oh, you beat the game, we're gonna mark that off in your like profile or wherever that you beat the game. They want you to beat classic mode, adventure mode with all characters. So that means you also have to unlock all the characters. And they also want you to do home run contest and like, I think do that with all the characters as well. And that's what counts as beaten. A lot of people are complaining about that on like comments. I don't know if that will get changed, but a lot of people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? that should not be what counts as beating the game. Are you fucking ill? So yeah, that's kind of an example where retro achievements goes a bit rotten. Not all sets are made equally. The thing to understand about retro achievements, though, is that, like, support for GameCube is recent. It was, like, last year, I think, is when they added support for GameCube. So, like, it's still pretty new. So there's gonna be, like, a lot of GameCube sets you'll see that are just gonna be, like, not really up to a high standard. Oh, really? So I haven't played F-Zero GX, really. Outside of the demo that came with Mario Kart Double Dash, I've not touched F-Zero GX. I've seen it played here and there, but I can believe you that that's really rough. So is that just to count the game as, like, marked as beaten? Or is that just, like, what does the mastery, like, the set requires? But yeah, for me, like, a normal qualification, like, I mean normal, but, like, an extended qualification to beat Smash Brothers Melee, I would feel beating event mode would kind of be that, right? That would be kind of like the kind of good way to cap it off. That's not what I'm doing with the GameCube challenge, though. Whenever we end up doing Smash Brothers Melee, I don't know when that is. With that, I'm just gonna go with the normal whatever gets the credits roll, so it could be like a 15-minute thing, and I'm just done with it. My kind of plan with Smash Brothers Melee with the GameCube challenge is, with specific games, what I want to do is add, like, a donation incentive, like a goal. And if it's met, then I will extend the qualifications for what requires is beating certain GameCube games. Which I want to do with Smash Brothers Melee at some point. So, like, kind of my idea would be, instead of just getting a normal credits roll, it takes, like, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. I would then, like, say, okay, if we reach this amount of money, then like, I'll make the qualification for reading it, to defeat all the event mode stuff, you know? Does that make sense? Kind of stumbled over my words a bit since I was trying to deal with the boss. But, there is no next Sphinx source Carmen Sandiego, thankfully. That much I've confirmed from the GameCube library. I was talking to a friend about this last night, that, it's kind of funny that the more I've done research on the GameCube library, the more I've kind of learned that I've been front-loading a lot of the worst, most fucking awful, evil games. There's still a lot of, like, garbage left or whatever, but, like, I've been actually, like, in some cases, accidentally picking some of the worst shit. Which is honestly not a bad thing, because it means that, like, the challenge will get smoother from here with certain parts of it, right? Because I certainly have been just picking certain games that are just really, really rough. And yeah, the shockwave effect is neat for that boss, yes. I think that that's mostly like a neat improvement. Like, I like what they did with that. So you get to answer one question per completion of a 5-race Grand Prix Cup in F-Zero GX. And there are like 8 questions or something for 40-ish characters. That's for the mastery. That would make sense for it to be the mastery, not like the qualification for beating it, but that does sound absolutely rotten, though. That's the part of retro achievements that gets a little bit, with some of those masteries for certain games that have more content, that's where it gets a bit off the rails, where they get a little too focused on like completionist stuff and being like, we're really going for true completionists, like not even 100% in some cases, but like, you know, the higher deranged tier of it that is just not really what you want from games. Honestly, from my experience, this is just my own like personal tastes, but I find that most games for true completionists is just a bad time. There are some games where I could see it being more appealing, but a lot of it just ends up being quite miserable. Well, I already did Donkey Konga Super, but there's still a sequel to that. So we still have Donkey Konga 2. The thing about Donkey Konga is there's not really much of a video game. You can't actually beat Donkey Konga. So that ended up being like a one-stream affair because there's just nothing to it. It was just kind of innocuous. Like, you just go through the songs, you check out the modes, and you kind of move on. Now, the one thing that's utterly deranged, and I knew that people would do it because they're sick and twisted, and it is kind of funny. I get the humor of it, but like, there are full retro achievement sets for the Donkey Konga games. Utterly foul. Utterly foul. Because for those who don't know, Donkey Konga is a shovelware game that Nintendo licensed. It is absolute fucking trash. It's terrible. That was actually one of the things I didn't expect that I was shocked by, is that Donkey Konga is shovelware. Because typically, under most circumstances, Nintendo, when they license something with their own IP, it's a real video game. Like, it's very rare when it's not. Most of the time, it's a real game, and I was quite jump scared that that was, like, actual garbage. It does happen, though, like, you know, you do get games like that every now and then, but boy, that sure was some whiplash. That was something. They do, Super. They do have them for the different regions. They are that sick. They are that ill. They do count the different regions because they have different songs. So each region has its own set. fucking hilarious. But oh boy, I would not want to do that. God. Because that gets pretty impossible. Like, at least for me, it seemed like that was like... That got to the point of just being impossible. Like, when you got to the higher difficulties and stuff. Because, like, the feedback in how that works is not great. At least when you're using an actual bongo controller. Because, you know, I think it probably gets easier if you're using, like, a GameCube controller. But, like, if you're using the fucking bongos, oh, you're not gonna get any, like, expert stuff on that. Not without, like, ruining your hands for life. But yeah, no, like, the GameCube challenge has definitely had a notable amount of front-loading of garbage. Because, like, a lot of the other games in the library are kind of just inoffensive. Like, they're just more of, like, kind of just standard platformers with nothing of, like, major notes to them. Or, like, yeah, you just do the thing. You jump here, you go to that spot. Maybe you do a little mini-game every now and then. And then you're kind of done. And that's like a bunch of games are just like that, and they're not like really that bad about it. like, games like Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy or, like, Carmen Sandiego are really just, like, bizarre outliers. Most of them don't even go for that long. Thanks for the follow. Like, most of them genuinely do not go, like, as long as games like that do. Like, some of these games are only, like, 4 hours long. Because, like, for those who are not familiar, because there's definitely some new people here today, right? Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy is like a 25-hour video game. It's utterly insane how long that game is. Technically, it can be 6.5 hours if you know exactly what to do. Like, but the long play showcases for its playtime, right? But, you know, because I do blind playthroughs by and large and only look things up when I feel it's absolutely necessary, you know, it tends to take a lot longer. A2M? You mean A2MR? Like, what were you talking about here? A2M. Oh, you mean the developer. Yeah. A2M, the developer. Yeah. Yeah, I've played, like, almost all the A2M library. I think there's only, like, 1 or 2 games left for me to do that they developed for the GameCube. A2M stuff has been really rough. Their stuff has always been a time, but at least some of their games still were finished in one stream. Some of them. So far, I'm feeling pretty good about these webs. It seems like Squitter is actually better in this version. He was always a bit hard to wield on the Super Nintendo. Manageable, but not great. He seems to have a lot more feedback for the platforms here, and it's like a lot more consistent to actually land on them very quickly. Like, you can still do it on the Super Nintendo, but like, there's a bit more of a delay to it, whereas this one, it's very snappy. So every now and then, like, these versions do have some upgrades to some aspects of the gameplay, but it's unfortunately very much a, like, 1 step forward, 5 steps back approach. So this one's no longer nighttime. Kind of a typical thing they did with these remakes is they removed nighttime. They would, like, make it evening or daytime. Just, like, really afraid to have any dark colors on the screen for a Game Boy game. I wonder how the other one coming up is gonna go. I forget what that one's called, but the one that's a lot harder. I wonder if they made that easier in the remake. They probably did. They probably did something to make it easier. It is, like, in a lot of cases when something is, like, really hard on the Super Nintendo versions, they do something to try and make it a bit more palpable. Yeah, I think it's called Rickety Race, is it? Yeah, that's probably the name of it. Hey, Santum. Yeah, I think the rationale behind it is they were really afraid of, okay, that shouldn't have hit me, but alright. I think the rationale behind it is that, like, they designed all the palettes for these to be, like, just for the original Game Boy Advance screen, despite the fact that GBA SP was long since out at this point. Did not jump high enough there. Unfortunate, we were near the end. I was talking about this earlier where, some Game Boy Advance games would just give you an option to change the palette to be, like, for the Game Boy Advance SP or for the Game Boy player. And how it's very unfortunate that a lot of these Super Nintendo remakes and stuff ended up just not doing that at all, even though they easily could have. So it's kind of a big missed opportunity. Yay, my one banana. One achievement set that I'm very interested to do on stream at some point. I'm not sure when, but I really want to play more Mario Kart Double Dash because I already beat it for the GameCube challenge, and I knew it would be a meme because I'm like above average at Double Dash. So like I got to the credits in Double Dash in like a little over an hour. Would have been far less than that if I understood the unlock requirements and how bad they were. But there's like a really nice retro achievement set for Double Dash. I looked at it and it looked pretty damn reasonable to me. And like I would like to do more of that, just as an excuse to stream more of Double Dash, you know? So like I'm definitely down for that at some point. I think that would be fun. Not even necessarily getting a mastery, just doing a bunch of it and playing the game and having a good time. Yeah, Sonata, exactly. Adding that freaking grunt is so funny. What? Okay. It's funny. Yeah, I played like a shitload of Double Dash back in the day. A decent amount of that, actually, muscle memory has retained pretty well for me, actually. So no, like, so I've actually managed to keep a decent amount of my skill for Double Dash. Wouldn't say entirely, but pretty good. A lot of it, though, is a bit carts dependent. And I know that the achievement set wants to use different carts, so that might fuck me up a bit, at least for a little while when I adjust. But also that is interesting to me, because that's like the appeal of what I was talking about with retro achievements is getting you to engage with a game you like in a different way. And sometimes it's not always a fun way. Sometimes it's not like gonna always work out. But I think it's cool that people come up with the ideas, right, to have you engage with your favorite games. Even if they're not always successful, you know? I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, Double Dash is pretty distinct in terms of its controls and, like, nuances. And there's, like with all those newer-ish, I say newer, but Double Dash is old. The later entries of Mario Kart tend to pretty heavily leverage, like, meta stuff. Like, you've got, like, different stats with different characters and carts and things like that. So, with Double Dash, part of it is kind of picking the more meta stuff, the things that just work better with the game's mechanics. Because there are some carts that are just not great. Some carts are just kind of bad. Some of it comes down to a bit of preference, like there's like some pretty decent options for certain weight classes that can get you pretty far in the game without too much trouble once you get used to the nuances of their controls and stuff. It's really funny that they made the Squawks coconut noise just like this pop. Kind of like a person who's stimming, you know, just pretty funny. Pretty funny. Do I think that's better? Hell no. I do find it amusing, though. Some of these sound effect choices are just kind of interesting. Yeah, like, it really is just like that. It's a mixed bag. Like, okay. A bit of a bounce there I wasn't ready for. Yeah, like a really delayed bounce. Okay. And you know, you don't have to get a mastery on every game, you know? In fact, you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. But, getting the Donkey Kong Country mastery for Super Nintendo was mostly fun for me, I would say, outside of the parts where it wanted me to be mega completionist. And I appreciated doing that just for... to re-engage with that part of the game and learn that I disliked it. But, you know, I wouldn't do that again, you know? Not past what I did with GBA and for Super Nintendo. Of course, though, doing it on the GBA was kind of cake because I had literally just done it the other day, so I remembered where things were. At least mostly. I like the Chivos popping up. Makes me feel strong when I do something like... when I'm not even looking to do something, I just do it because I just play that way. I find that to be fun. Fun, free little serotonin, where it's like... you know, I'm just playing the game the way I play it, and then they're like, haha, you got a rare achievement. You're fucking awesome, actually. And I'm like, oh, damn, you're right. Sat log. Ace Combats, I see. I've never played an Ace Combat. That whole genre, outside of, like, Star Fox, if that's even the same thing, are kind of alien to me. Alright, so Rickety Race. I'm interested to see if this is as fucked up as it is originally. Rickety Race, for those who've seen me play the Super Nintendo game before... because I have streamed it a number of times in the past. I'm very inconsistent with Rickety Race, unfortunately. Did they add a warp or a bonus? Okay, just the bonus, right. Oh, they added the screaming. I forgot about that. But I'm very inconsistent at it. It's not my best. It's not my best. Sometimes I just nail it first go, and it's easy. Other times, it's dire for me, and I just struggle. And I've been stuck on this before for like 20 minutes. It's very much not my best thing. I would like to get more consistent at some of this stuff, though. In general, even just for myself, not for like big PP stuff or achievements or anything like that, just like, I would like to get better at the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. And don't get me wrong, I'm still well above average. But I want to kind of bring it to the next level with those games at some point, and I'm kind of thinking that's sooner rather than later. This seems to be very much almost identical to the Super Nintendo version. Because I basically died the exact same way as I do on the SNES. Okay, so this might take a bit. Oh no, I would never want to do this and... I mean, I guess I did do it that way. God, I almost actually forgot about that. That was a fucking nightmare. Yeah, I don't remember how well it went. I don't even know, was I even the one who did this level? I might have done this level when we did that collab. Friggin' nightmare. That collab was fun, but holy shit, that pounds of latency made some stuff just borderline impossible. Unfortunately, there was no better way to do it. We had tried every method. And the Switch Online method was still the best. The other ones were still worse. Fightcade would have worked if not for the fact that it fucks up the audio really, really badly. So it resolved the latency issues, but the audio was complete garbled mess whenever the person on the other end was like pushing buttons. So whenever I would be in control in Fightcade, if I was like, you know, just playing it, you would just on the stream end hear the sound just garble and pop constantly anytime I pushed a button. So it wasn't a viable option because of that. That wasn't too terrible. I did it pretty all right. I was like, what, second try? Oh shit. Those guys came in real fast. Why did they make this so purple? Why is the background so purple? Oh god. Amazing. 10 out of 10. Now I'll go back to Diddy. Wow, all that for bananas. Amazing. So there's always going to be a bit inherently worse latency with Switch Online on the Switch 1 at the very least. We don't know about the Switch 2 yet. Because Nvidia fucked up and made some stuff wrong with their with the APU on the Switch. So there's always additional input latency on anything on that console, which is super unfortunate. So yes, there is added latency, and then whatever on top of what the emulator's doing, I guess. So even in single player, you are getting some extra layers of it. How appreciably noticeable that is for the average person is a whole other matter, but it certainly exists. But you know, most people probably don't care unless they were playing an extremely demanding Twitch-heavy game on NSO. Multiplayer was really rough for me and Dan because we do not live remotely close to each other. We were essentially like on the other sides of the continent. Not like we could be further away from each other, but we were far away enough that we were dealing with some extra problems with latency because of that. Am I misunderstanding? Can I land on this? Okay. The visibility of that was really poor, so I wasn't sure. I'm gonna give myself a slightly easier time here. Go. Oh wow, that timing was bad. Still got it though. Didn't need the barrel at all. Yep, they added that in. They actually had better sounds than the original, especially when you killed them. They'd be like, ooh. It's one of those noises that's probably impossible to make with human speech, but it was like, oh. It was pretty funny. Unfortunately, we have to do a part of the stage with Rambi. Mandatory Rambi segment in this version. Oof. Maybe it won't be that bad. I think they changed the position of that zinger. In the original, I'm pretty sure it was safe to drop there. Yeah. I'm not sure if that was the same, though. That might have just been memory error on my part. Yeah, I might have to just do it a bit more normally then. I don't know. I usually try to skip those parts because it's pretty easy to do it if you know where to go, but fuck. But they made it a little different, I think. It's kind of what I'm talking about when it's like, these are kind of made from memory. They like slightly change things. Yeah, I don't want to be stuck in this section for too long. So I probably shouldn't try to do anything fancy that I don't know will actually work on this version. But yeah, one thing that I definitely want to get better at is Donkey Kong Country 3, because that's my worst game in terms of skill level for the trilogy. I take way too long to get through that. I would like to cut down my time on that substantially. And I think it can be I'm more than capable of achieving that. I'm sure that I can do it. Because I did look at the times. I haven't looked at any of the runs or learned anything yet, but I've looked at the times for Donkey Kong Country 3 speedruns, like any percent, and it's actually like a lot faster than I thought it could be. And I'm kind of interested in what's involved to achieve that. Because I was kind of expecting it to be more inherently longer than the other games, but it isn't. So I'm very interested in what's involved with that, because I would like to learn more of that. Because when I had done that marathon last year, where on my own I went through the entire Donkey Kong Country trilogy in one sitting, half of my playtime for the marathon was the third game. And I think I spent like 2 hours on it or something, or an hour and 50 minutes or something crazy like that. And like the speedruns for any percent can get it down to, on an average of about like 50 minutes. I think like the world record is something like 40 minutes something or whatever, but like the average like ballpark of like, if you know the run, you can on average get about 50 minutes, which is really good. And so I'm really curious to learn more about that in the future, because I just want to get through that game faster. Like I want to be able to break that game over my knee, and I haven't really been able to do that with the third game. It is funny. Yeah, it is funny they changed the song. Ehi Kanoa, welcome. Good old onging. This boss is kind of like one I'm not great at. And in case you're wondering, since I know you like the retro Chivos, I was talking about this earlier, but I have made the assessment that I have no desire to get a mastery on this version of the game. It's a little too bootleg and cursed, and I had recently subjected myself to doing almost the entire set for the first GBA remake, and I really did not have a great time with most of that. So I think I'm good. Because there's enough weirdness with this version that it's failing the vibe check, and like at least half the achievements in the set for this are just time trials, and I can see that being excruciating. So like I doubt that I would do much of it. My kind of expectation is I might do a little bit of the achievements off stream, but I'm gonna have like a very fast limit that I hit. Very fast limit I hit on my patience with those time trials especially. So that boss is a lot easier in this version. Exactly. That's the thing that I was telling chat earlier, is that retro achievements is something that you should not feel compelled to get masteries on games with unless the set is actually fun. There are good sets and there are bad sets. This is quite vibrant. It's, the colors are a lot more dull in the original because they're trying to go for a more spooky atmosphere, and they had, like, fog and shit. This is also new. They added in, like, these light rays. That's not necessarily terrible looking, but, like, they really just decided to remove the fog, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, in general, one of my kind of goals here, and I have been making some progress in it, is just getting better at the Super Nintendo trilogy. Because I am already well above average, but there's a lot of room for improvement, especially with the 2 sequel games, so. But today we're just exploring the weird GBA remakes, because that's good stream content. They certainly went with a weird sound choice for these ropes. Fun fact, the sound effect that plays when Fumo mode is activated or deactivated is the ghost ropes from Super Nintendo. So if you want a comparison, you could mess with Fumo mode. Kind of weird what they did. Yeah, rhythm game masteries would be just straight up CBT, I imagine. Unless you were truly adept and you could also, like, compensate in your brain any latency that you're getting from emulation. That would be just too extreme. No, people shouldn't put themselves through that kind of torture unless they just genuinely enjoy doing that to themselves. Because there's, like, a lot to consider with, like, especially retro rhythm games, where it's, like, I am not good at rhythm games. I've barely played them, but I am friends with people who are. And, like, I've been told that there are just some games where, like, it's almost like full stop, like you can't really get much accomplished with them on emulation without just being a real special kind of brain mutant. Like, Parappa the Rapper is one of those that I've been told where, like, unless you're playing on original hardware with the CRT, that fucking game is just so brutal on timing, and it's like good fucking luck getting anywhere with that without playing that way, right? So it's kind of like one of those situations. It's very much like the more mainstream equivalent of that, and like knowledge of that, is a game like Punch-Out in the NES. Punch-Out in the NES is very much that same deal, where like you either need to have an OLED display with a mister, or just play on real hardware on a CRT. Otherwise, good luck getting Tyson down, you know? It's very much that sort of deal. Yeah, exactly. There's so much nuance to some of these things, right? You really don't want to have to deal with the massive debuffs of extra latency on top of that. So really, when it comes to retro achievement sets on rhythm games, it really feels like it's more of a kind of for fun thing, and there's a very, like, hard stopping point on trying to get masteries for those. Has the audio been good for the stream, by the way? Is it too loud? Because I can lower the game if it's coming in a bit too loud. It's probably fine based off what I'm seeing, but I know that Game Boy audio tends to sometimes creep up on being louder than it actually appears on the levels. As long as it's good, yeah. Like, you're thinking it's good, it's good. It certainly made some of these jumps easier on this version, which I actually kind of appreciate, because it's a little bit deranged on its timing in the... yeah, like those jumps are... Death jump, all that's fucked up on the Super Nintendo. It's all doable, but the timing is really bad. So they actually just made this level easier, which I'm okay with, because honestly, it was a little too fucked up on the original. You have to be, like, hilariously on top of it on the SNES. Essentially, what they did is they made the cart... They made the cart have more vertical height on your jump. It's really all they did. They just, like, slightly adjusted it, and honestly, that's just a positive change. There's not a lot of positive changes in these versions, but when they're there, I notice them. Cog. That's right, Cog. Thanks for the follow. You mastered Parappa? Yeah, so you're a certified freak then. That's fine. Just not many people are going to be like that, right? I'm like that with the Donkey Kong Country games. Few people are, which is why, like, I can casually do the subset for Donkey Kong Country 2 on SNES. But, few people would be able to do that, which is evident by the statistics. Ah, oh, darn. Hey, Shinon. Oh, does it? Never really gave that much thought, because I haven't played the Conquer games. The Conquer games kind of are repulsive to me, to be quite honest. I'm not really a fan of, like, gross-out video games in general, though, so... Conquer's kind of like, that's its whole branding. So it doesn't really, do a whole lot for me, personally. In general, a lot of, like, that style of British humor is a little... It's not my favorite thing in the world. I like British humor, but not that kind of British humor. Uh-huh, yeah, I can imagine. Oh, shit. Okay, I recovered. Good thing I'm just Dixie for this. It's a lot. This level's always easier with Dixie. It's more than doable with Diddy, at least on the SNES, but, like... Dixie's just the general optimal play here. Mainly because you can just do skips like that. No, I don't care for collectathon games as a general rule either. The only, like, time where I've actually enjoyed it a lot is Mario Odyssey. But Mario Odyssey is sort of a different beast because with Mario Odyssey, they don't have, like, very high requirements for collectibles. It's a lot more lenient, so, like, you can really just opt in and opt out of whatever you want. I'm the same. As I've been playing more of Rareware's library, I've learned that I dislike most of their stuff. The only games that I actually have consistently liked from Rare are these, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and that's, so far, pretty much it. Donkey Kong 64 I recently played through as part of a donation incentive, and there are parts of Donkey Kong 64 that I think are awesome, but the game is completely compromised by its bloat and feature creep and just lack of, like, consistency with everything. It's very much of like, damn, there's some really cool stuff in Donkey Kong 64 that I really like. And then there's the rest of this, you know? So it's a bit rough. And then, of course, like, the K. Rool fight and the fake K. Rool fight before that are very dire. I really dislike those. I don't really frame drops on the GBA. Okay. I mean, they existed on the SNES versions in some spots, but I was actually a bit surprised it dropped frames at all. This is a level that is pretty easy to speedrun on the SNES as long as you just remember certain placements. The kind of speedrun for the SNES version of this level is you mostly skip squawks and you just do precise jump rolls and hovers and stuff. And you can just do straight drops through some sections of the levels. It's pretty neat. Oh darn, got hit. I'm not like super good at it though. One of those things again that I'd be interested in learning. I think the subset for retro achievements on 2 SNES is actually teaches you how to do it, or at least wants you to do it. The thing about Donkey Kong Country Trilogy is a lot of it is very well documented on like speedrun tricks and glitches and stuff. Like they have a site for it, so it's actually not that bad. Oh god, I almost got hit. It's actually not that bad in terms of that. Like they do a good enough job of giving you the resources, and then the rest of it's just your own execution and muscle memory at that point. So I can appreciate that. What the hell happened to the music there? Like, did you guys hear that? The music, like, was struggling. That was, like, very off-key or something. It was, like, some kind of slowdown or maybe or something. Funny. Okay, where are we going? Are we going... Okay, we're going past Clubba. The world map is very different on these remakes, and extremely zoomed in. I never played Viva Pinata, but it's also not easy to play it. Xbox emulation being what it is, and me never owning an Xbox. I think it's pretty much mandatory as a streamer, though, that I have to get an original Xbox and mod it. Like, I think that's just, like, something that's necessary for streaming content. There's so much weird cryptid shit on the Xbox that I think it's just sort of something that's necessary. But not in a huge rush to do that, but I think it's probably going to be a good idea. It's very much on brand with what I do, especially since it's the same generation as the GameCube. I do a mix. I mostly do physical hardware when it's reasonable. Right, so if you're still here, me, you're gonna get my assessment on the full assessment on the squitter physics for this version. Because this is where, this is where you learn if it's actually any good. You certainly shoot the webs a lot faster. Like, you can actually Gatling gun rapid fire them a lot more than you can in the SNES. So there's definitely less of a delay on that part. Oh yeah, no, all the physics are wrong. We've talked about that quite a lot already, that like all these remakes on the GBA have completely different physics from the original games. It's very rare that anything is the same. They're all very strange, so they betray your muscle memory at all times. So for people like me who have hundreds, if not thousands of hours in these games, because I'm a freak, these can be an additional layer of challenge because I cannot assume that anything will work like they do on Super Nintendo. So sometimes I just die because I try to do something on the SNES and it doesn't work. So I usually end up having to play these games giving it a lot of visual attention where I'm like really looking at what's happening on the screen because I can't rely on muscle memory entirely. So like I'm really just trying to pay attention to what I'm seeing. Because like to an extent I can autopilot sections of this game Kind of. Not like, you know, blindfolded, of course, but you know what I mean. We all have games like that. We all have games like that. Okay, so this is a bit of a risky area to be in. But I'm managing it. Okay, okay, the camera's doing some weird shit here. I might actually die here. This is getting weird. What a long level. Webwoods has always been a bit of a meme. It's one of the hardest levels in the game. Okay. First try. Fuck the DK coin, I don't care. Oh, I missed out on the PS2, that's a shame. The thing is I missed out on most of the PS2 as well. I got it pretty late, and I didn't get that many games for it. I was mostly focused on the GameCube at the time. But you know, I can play PS2 now, so... Yeah. Yeah, I'm friends with Sarah Lene, and, she's like, you know, one of the biggest Sonic fans alive. And, she's talked about that in the past, even recently, of, like, we were talking about the, Game Boy Advance Donkey Kong countries, and she was drawing some comparisons to, Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Boy Advance. And we were just kind of exchanging our thoughts on that. On, like, kind of which one might end up being worse than the other one. Because these have very similar vibes to that, from what she was telling me. It's very possible, though, at least for Donkey Kong Country 1 on Game Boy Advance, that it's actually worse than Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Boy Advance. Oh, God, that again. That's still the same as it is in the SNES. I really don't like this fight. This is like a boss fight I'm bad at. I'm not consistent at this fight, and it's another thing I want to improve on. It's mainly the ropes is what gets me a lot of the time, and sometimes the last phase of it. Okay, sure. Yeah, it's expected I would die here. Yeah, see, it's like really hard. Like, I'm sure that there's... Oh, God damn it, really already? I'm sure there's a way, like, to do this consistently. I'm not sure on the Game Boy Advance, but on the SNES, it seems to be almost identical with how they did the eggs. But they really do just, like, meme you pretty hard. With those eggs. Like, they just kind of appear off-screen. And it's really hard to, like, anticipate and, like, adjust for. It's not worth trying to kill these guys, in my experience. Fuck, I missed them. So what happens now? Okay, he just goes and tries to kill me. Let me just do it again. Jesus, I didn't think you'd do it twice. Are you done? Okay. Only need to hit the real one. Here we go. I almost missed. Oh, we're done with that, thank goodness. Percentages are getting a lot lower in the achievements. That's 15.28%, by the way. I don't have it captured on the stream because it's kind of annoying to do that. Thank you, thank you. I do want to commission a custom achievement pop-up, though. I don't know, like, how to do this, to change the settings on that, but I'm sure it's not that hard once you know where to look. But, wow, this is really blown out again. All the underwater sections are just super contrast blown out. Just put the contrast and brightness at max. That's what they keep doing. But, yeah, it's... For losing my train of thought here. I did not sleep well the past 2 days, so my brain is a bit fried. Yeah, gotta make sure that, we only have one mode for the color palette. You can't change it, and that it's always for the worst case scenario for original Game Boy Advance. Wow, that broke. Okay. You were supposed to keep going, but you decided to just stop. Okay. I guess I won't get that coin then. This is why I don't want to do the time trials. Past maybe like the first world or two. This is why I don't want to do the time trial achievements, because you can tell how bootleg the physics are and just how certain things don't work. Like, again, that was supposed to work and it didn't. Oh, trust me, Shinon, it's not as clunky as you think when you actually learn it. It's very much like Sonic in that regard. Like 2D Sonic. Because you could actually very much get the same impression with 2D Sonic if you didn't know it already. It's a similar thing here, where like when on the Super Nintendo versions, when you actually understand how things work, it's not actually clunky at all. They're actually very, very responsive. Camera? Are you okay? Did I go the wrong way? What's up? Was that not the right way? What the fuck? Did I go backwards? Are we okay here? I guess I must have gone backwards somehow. Oh, that's what happens when I'm not paying attention. Or did the game just break? I'm not sure which. Okay, we're good. I just went the wrong way somehow. Until I'm low on low sleep. But no, these GBA versions, though, are definitely more clunky because they don't actually work right. They drop inputs and stuff. That's like kind of where these clock in at. Cool. Thanks for doing that. Very neat. Very neat. This is supposed to be an easy level, by the way. At least I got the checkpoint. You know, like, outside of, like, Super Mario World, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy actually has very, very good controls. It's, like, one of my favorite things about them. I think that part of the problem with them is that, they don't do the best job teaching the player, especially if you don't have the manual. The manual tells you some stuff, but not all of it. There's, like, a lot of, like, movement tech that is not fully understood in, on, like, a normal first playthrough, so... Certain things... Throat! Oh, man, I need to drink water. Don't you just hate that? Sometimes my throat does this thing where it seizes up.
I spill my drink!
And makes it hard to speak. It's very cool. It makes it sound like I'm dying or I'm choking to death. Oh, yes. This stage. I'm very much in the same wavelength, but the opposite. I never really played any Sega games. I've dabbled in a few here and there, but I've mostly not played Sega. In general, though, for a lot of the VTuber retro crowd on Twitch, I'm more of an outlier by and large. Not many people, for whatever reasons, I don't really know why, but like a lot of people just did not grow up playing any Nintendo games. Or it was like very selective. It's been my assessment that most VTuber retro people fall into this category. They had Sega, and they played every Mega Man game in existence nearly. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's a very hardline obsession with Mega Man, and then a lot of Sega stuff. Okay, I guess I'm not supposed to jump in this one. And I'm very much I never had those games. It is a bit strange, yeah. It was sort of like it kind of came off like Mega Man was the thing they got on Super Nintendo if they had one, or they just played it emulated years later or whatever. But yeah, the Mega Man obsession is like very much a thing. Like it's okay, this game, it's really fucking me up. It's like, I don't have a problem with it, for the record. Like, this isn't like me complaining or having an issue. It's just an observation that, like, it's a very common trend. It's strange. Like, I do find it strange because, like, you know, it's not like Nintendo games were unpopular, right? But they get actually very little playtime on Twitch Retro in general. Even just not even just VTubing, just Twitch in general. You don't get actually a lot of it at all. Maybe I'll have a better time without Rambi. It's usually how it goes. You only need Rambi if you're going for the bonuses, which I'm not. Only the ones I feel like getting. Regardless, though, I'll have to play most of the Mega Man games at some point in the future, because they are part of the GameCube challenge, after all. The only Mega Man game that I played is the first one, and it was pretty rough. You know, being a first entry and all. And I did not beat it legitimately, because it's the type of game where they're like, haha, funny, you didn't find the cryptic secret, you're soft locked. So I ended up ending cheating to get the item I needed. Yeah, Nintendo's not popular on Twitch Retro. Like, in terms of, like, when it's streamed. Like, I'm sure that there's viewership for it and shit. But, like, it gets very little attention. Most of Twitch Retro streams Sega. And they stream, like, more obscure Nintendo games. And shitloads of Mega Man, like I said. And then there's, like, the PC DOS crowd of it, right? Which is kind of its own little separate thing in some ways, but there's a lot of, like, PC gaming and DOS stuff and all that, which I have a little more familiarity with. I haven't played a ton of DOS games, but I have played a lot of PC games. So, like, at least I can kind of vibe with that, and I get that part of it. I don't know why I'm doing this bonus, just because, I guess. Yeah, we're actually almost done with the game, which is kind of what I expected. We're definitely not getting that speedrun achievement. Not that it's really that strict. It's like, I think to get the achievement for that, they're like, beat the game in an hour and a half. Which is something I would have been able to do if I wasn't getting the bonuses. But since I got a bunch of them, it really slowed things down. Plus, I don't know if it counts you on the overworld for the speedrun achievement. That I'm a little unclear on, but I also was spending some time in the overworld talking. But, that's how streaming goes. I think that's part of it, Tommy. I have thought about that, and I think that's part of it, is the stigma of the Nintendo tuber, because a lot of Nintendo tubers are very obnoxious people who don't understand or appreciate games as an art. Like, I'm being a little mean, but I'm also being real here. Because it's really the truth, in my opinion. Like, and that whole, like, classic aversion to the RPG is a real thing. Like, that isn't made up. That's how they are. Whoa, that guy just fucking snapped out of existence. Whoa. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, the crossover with Funko Pop collecting is definitely there. That is true. Like, that's just a correlation for sure. I think I'm dead. Oh, that was close. See, part of the problem with these versions is they don't have the chained physics. So when you roll into multiple enemies, you do not get a speed boost on the Game Boy Advance remakes, which is one of the serious flaws with the physics. So, like, sections like that are really easy to get through on the SNES because they give you momentum boosts. Not in this one, though, so those end up being a lot tighter. Unfortunately. Oh no, I know that, like, all fandoms can be very brain dead. Trust me, I've observed this. Hey, P-Pobs. Thank you for the raid. What you been up to, P-Pobs? It's been a little bit. How's it going? We've just been talking about a bunch of video game discourse. Nothing toxic, just, you know, chatting about some stuff. Dwarf Fortress, huh? That is a game I find super interesting. I bought it on Steam because I just like supporting awesome projects and stuff, you know? But I haven't got around to even trying it yet because it's so intimidating. But I'm very interested to someday, like, learn more about that and mess around with it. Dwarf Fortress seems like something I could enjoy if I got through the learning curve a bit more. But yeah. Yeah, we've just been talking about, like, some fandom stuff and kind of, like, what goes on with Twitch Retro, you know, and kind of the trends and what people stream and what they choose to play and stuff like that. Nothing, you know, nothing too intense for conversation, just, you know. And then we're playing this cursed version of Donkey Kong Country 2. It's like a remake, because a lot of people think these are ports, but they're remakes. They were rebuilt from the ground up, and it becomes pretty obvious when you're more familiar with the games on the SNES. It's more approachable than it was in the past. That's good to hear. I enjoy retro games a lot. I mean, obviously, I stream a lot of them. I have a good time. That's so purple. I have a good time with retro gaming. Of course, though, then there's that whole age-old argument that people get very heated about sometimes of, like, what is retro? What's a retro video game? Retro video games are when I stopped engaging with the medium. That's what a retro game is. So, when I stop playing games, that's when they're retro. Anything past that, even if it's like 15 or 18 years old, that ain't retro because I stopped playing video games like 20 years ago. I only play games from 20 years ago. You know, there's that part of the crowd that are like, oh, that's what retro is. And then there's other people who are a little more normal about it, and there's other people who are just like, that makes me feel old. It's not retro because it makes me feel old. I've talked about this a little bit before, that that, like, I am reasonably certain that a decent chunk of Twitch Retro would not consider me a retro streamer because I play Game Boy Advance games and GameCube games, like a decent amount, especially the GameCube stuff, since that's one of the main pieces of content I do on stream, right? With the GameCube challenge. And, like, there are people who are like, GameCube ain't retro. I've seen them. I've seen them. Like, if you go to any, like, bigger retro streamer, like, and you watch them and look in their chat, you'll spot them. And they'll just say that. So, like, you know, like, you go look into Macaw 45 or Retro Ion Gaming chat, and they'll come out and they'll be like, GameCube's not retro. So there's just that whole thing where, like, just because there are people who say that, they wouldn't consider me a retro streamer, which I find interesting. Yeah, no, the Wii is also retro, it's true. 7th gen is in its entirety is retro. And there's, like, pretty solid arguments to be made just because it's fucking old, for the record, and also because, like, they actually do look very visually aged. It's the problem of, like, period-specific stuff is a factor, and there's a lot of revisionism when it comes to certain consoles because of emulation being a thing and modern displays being a thing. This is what I've talked about a little bit before. It gets a little nerdy, but the GameCube has a pretty hefty amount of revisionism and just kind of misunderstanding of what the games actually look like. Because most people's experiences with GameCube are through Dolphin, and Dolphin does not accurately represent the visuals of a GameCube game. And I'm not even just talking about, like, upscaling. I'm talking about, like, GameCube games, the vast majority of them, especially the third-party ones, are dithered. In some cases, very heavily dithered. And not a lot of people even know that unless they've been watching my challenge. Because I play on real hardware. The GameCube also has, like, less colors. Like, its RGB output is not great. It's not super rich with its colors. So there's also that. And yeah, and then, like, the dithering and shit. And, like, dithering is something you can enable in Dolphin, but you have to go out of your way to do it, and you have to do, like, software emulation and stuff. So, like, it's not something you would see under most circumstances. And stuff like that very clearly makes it look retro and very aged. I'm not being able to look at chat for obvious reasons, because this is, like, a bit demanding. But, I'll be able to catch up in a bit here. We're almost done the level. There we go. Looks like chat's been moving. Always good to have an active chat, even if I can't read every message, but that's just how it goes sometimes. Just kind of catching up here. I'm reading some of your messages. Retro-style indie games are better than actual retro games, in your opinion? It depends. There are a lot of, like, retro indie games that also have, like, they're very married to, like, certain design decisions from retro games that I don't really vibe with sometimes, you know? Like, they can get a little bit too derivative and inspirational with hyper-specific titles the developers like a lot, and then they, like, ignore other parts that are really great about other games in the genre. So there's that kind of thing that happens in that space. There's still, like, a lot of great games in that space, but, like, that is something that I've picked up on with some of them where it's like, you know, they kind of just selectively ignore certain games because they're not their favorite game and they want to be like their favorite game that came out on the SNES or whatever. And yes, the other classic of it's not retro because my parents were divorced by then. Of course. Of course. But, I think most of Twitch Retro does not give a shit about real hardware. Most people emulate. There's like a small subsection who just use only real hardware, but it's actually not that common as you'd think. Most people just emulate. Like, the two biggest streamers in Twitch Retro, excluding VTubing, because that's more of a niche. The two biggest is Macaw45, number 1, and then Retro Island Game is basically number 2. And both of them just exclusively emulate everything. Even if they have their own collections, they, for whatever reasons, just never actually use them. They just emulate everything. So they never use real hardware ever. The only time that Macaw has ever used real hardware is when he's playing like a portable gaming system, which has no means of capturing. Like, he's done like LCD games and stuff in the past, and there's no way to like capture those without just sticking a camera at it, you know? And yes, the PS3 is old. Yeah, it's almost 20. It's true. It's true. These days, the whole thing with retro is going to get a little harder because technology is kind of slow to a crawl. So there's not as much that you can delineate from just fidelity or whatever, because games do not, for the average person, meaningfully look all that different from now and like 10 years ago. So it gets a little bit more complicated from this point going forward. And mostly this is going to come down to just age. Like, I'm always a person who just goes by like the number, like how many years has it been? And that's just what I go by with like retro definitions. I keep it pretty simple. There's just other things that are layered to it that make it more obvious, like the stuff I talked about with the GameCube. That's kind of where I clock in on that. Yeah, I'm just kind of behind on chat and sort of catching up because, you know, I don't want to just not read like a big wall of messages, you know? We're almost done with the game anyways, so. And yeah, there are times where real hardware is actually pretty important. It depends on the game, because some games don't emulate well still, and some games are benefited greatly by using their real peripherals and hardware, like was mentioned, the dance pads and stuff like that, right? But yeah, the whole CRT thing, like the fetishism of CRT, is a bit obnoxious. I don't really come across it all that often in my spaces, honestly. CRTs can be super, super cool, and they're really neat, but there's a reason we rapidly moved off of them. So they're extremely heavy, they're unwieldy. A lot of modern desks don't even have the weight to, like, supports to support their sheer weight, space concerns, all these other things, right? Their power inefficiency. There's all kinds of things like that that are obvious reasons why CRTs stopped production pretty quickly once LCDs were remotely commercially viable. It's complicated though, because like CRTs do a few things. Very few these days, but CRTs do a few things that are still objectively better than modern displays, but at this point, the only thing that it does objectively better than modern displays is it has excellent resolution scaling. That's not something that's been solved yet. Hopefully someday we'll get there, but who knows? But yeah, I'm almost caught up with chat. I'm a bit slow, but I'm also kind of thinking and giving my thoughts. And yeah, there are pros and cons to real hardware versus emulation. I like to do a mixture of both. In my case, though, a lot of what I use is the Mr. FPGA, outside of when I'm doing silly retro achievement stuff like today, where I find that GBA emulation with MGBA is more than accurate enough that I don't need a Mr. for that. So I just have like the fun little retro achievements on top of it, right? And I don't really play enough like Game Boy Advance games that like really demand like super tight inputs that I need the lower latency, you know? And yes, there's the whole thing of like more decomps and recomps are coming out and being made. And they're just like, just objectively better versions of existing games. So there is that. There are some times where there's only like one reason to play like the original older versions, and it's just for like historical sakes. Like it's just for nostalgia or for like looking at a historical thing where it's like, that's how it was back then. That's interesting. And then you move on, right? So that's kind of how I think of that personally. And yeah, PAL is like, that whole thing is rough. Stuff with the PAL region, the 50 hertz and all that is just rough. Terrible, terrible for the PAL people. Terrible for the PAL people, it's true. Anyway, it's nice to get a little break from the gauntlet of the video game. Now we have yet another level here that I'm not the best at, but the rope chain movement physics are a decent bit better here, so it might actually help get through the level faster, I say, as I just get hit. I wonder if they zoomed out the camera here to make it more obvious that there's a checkpoint coming up. Because on the SNES, they're actually pretty rude about that, and they hide the fact that there's a checkpoint, and you have to, like, go off to the side to even see it. So it'd be interesting if that's, if they adjusted that. See it? No, they didn't. Okay, they're still evil about it. Yeah, you move a lot faster with both Dixie or Diddy. You can just ignore everything. That's kind of wild, actually. So they made this level way easier because you can just zoom through like a shitload of this. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I guess the only exception here would be the cannonballs, which are still a bit rough. I do need to be careful here, though. Because we're nearing the end, and we would rather not die. It'd be bad if we died here, wouldn't it? Yeah, this still takes way too long. Okay. Jesus. That is fucking wild how fast you can go on these. Holy shit. G. Okay, that level is borderline trivial on this version. Jeez. Freaking speedrunners wish they could go that fucking fast on Super Nintendo. Damn. Okay. Man, can you... Thank you. I just want to go over there and you're, like, being weird. Oops. Well, I guess I'm dead. Oh, we're still in it. We're still in it. I see that feather. I don't care. Oh, fuck. I fucked it. Yeah, this sound effect is really unfortunate. Yeah, anytime there's green or on the screen or red, they just go into mega overcompensated saturation mode for some reason. I don't know why. pretty okay. It kind of seems like they made this easier. Like, the toxic slime isn't rising nearly as quickly. It's actually not that lenient on SNES. For those mistakes I made, I would have been dead already from the slime. Fuck. I could very easily die here, though, but it wouldn't be that big of a deal since you move so fast to squawks anyway, so getting back would be, like, not that bad. It would reset the slime, though, because I don't think the slime can catch up to you on this. So if I died, it would be back to its original point. Okay. Good enough. They were. It's very obvious they did not consider the Game Boy Advance SP for any of these remakes, and I have no idea why. So things are about to get weird, chat. Things are about to get weird. If you don't know about this, you're about to. I am not at all practiced for this, so this might take a bit. I do not remember this. I made an original boss for this. Because this world did not originally have a boss, so they're like, we need to add one in. This fire part, I remember being pretty brutal, because you have no idea where he's gonna fucking do it. So this is what... We might be stuck here for a little bit, because I don't know the patterns. And he doesn't really give you any leniency, so... Yeah, no, they really did their best to make sure this meshed with the original visuals of the game. They were going all out. And it's a little unfortunate how long it takes, so, like, retrying the boss is a little bit slow. Really? I think the strat is to stay off to, like, a further area, because I don't... No, it isn't, because he does that, so they accounted for that. So you actually have to watch out for that, too. They knew what they were doing. It only works for that one part, but you have to move pretty quick, otherwise he'll just hit you. It's in general pretty hard to avoid taking damage in this fight because of that beginning part where you're just likely to get hit by the flames. I do wonder what the consistent strats would be other than maybe just memorize it. I guess I think for this part it's better to stay away. But then we're gonna have to move back to the center once we hit him. So in this next hit... Fuck! Okay, he does that too. Good to know. So is he gonna move his fists? What's the deal? Okay. What now? We're still going? Classic rare. Gotta make it long and protracted. This fight needs to go on for 500 years. It's very important to us. Please understand. Its value. It's a good thing that this isn't taking that long, so we'll have more than enough time to finish this game, but there's not really much left after this is the thing. Really need to switch to Diddy for this. There we go. Yeah, no, Rare gave up on Rule 3 long since this came out. Like, long before, rather. Rule 3s is... Once you hit the 64 era, they gave up on that. They're more like now, it's Rule of 12s. Borderline feels like you need Dixie for some of this. It's just a little nutty. Wow, they really let that flame linger. Good thing we're done. That's a real cheap shot. That's really rude. I hope you enjoyed that. That is one of the very strange major changes to this remake, is adding that boss. Yeah. Is that an improvement? No. It's terrible, actually. All right, so this Screech's sprint stage is probably going to be brutal. I might end up just dying to the brambles a lot because you move so ungodly fast as Squawks in this version. So I might actually end up struggling a fair bit here. We'll see. And considering I am pretty tired, I also might just straight up get lost. On occasion, this happens. I don't have this game as memorized as I do the first game. So, like, the first game's one I can, like, essentially autopilot. Not so much this one. Oh, of course. No. None of the skips work. Because it's complete remake, so they don't have skips. It's... Yeah, that's just a foregone conclusion. It's just how these are. It's funny that they have a timer for this. It almost seems like they actually, much like the first game for certain sections, they give you more visibility. I actually think that they let you see more of the level on this version than they do the SNES, which is interesting. I guess that helps make it easier to compensate for the fact that Squawks moves so friggin' fast when he's moving up, at least. Oh, I'm going the wrong... Fucking it up. I don't know how fast he actually is in this, so I don't know how close he is to beating me. He could catch up at any moment and fuck me up. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm going for stuff I don't need to go for. We're pretty close, though. Hopefully he doesn't get me. Okay, good. Wait, they did add cameras to this? That's literally the first camera I've seen in the game. So you're telling me that they added golden feathers And they added cameras to this, much like they did in the first game they had the cameras. The cameras are here. I thought they just had the golden feathers. I completely forgot that there were 2 new collectibles for you to get in this version. Here's a photo finish. That's probably what they were doing, was a joke. They probably would think they were being real funny with that. Yeah, no, that, if nothing else, chat, knowing that they added 2 new sets of collectibles to this version ensures I will never get a mastery. That just guarantees it that no, I'm good. I'm good. Alright, so we got our final boss. Oh, okay, I guess he doesn't start with that. I forgot. My bad. Jesus. Is it just me, chat, or does he move way faster? Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Bit faster. His suck, though, does seem to be less extreme so far. We'll see, though, because I think it gets harder anyway with the suck. So he's not at full sucking power, but it feels like they actually, might have nerfed the suck. Oh, yeah, no, they definitely nerfed it, because at this point, it would have, actually gotten Diddy much closer to him with that. So they did make some of this slightly easier, it looks like. Maybe. It depends what weird shit they do with some of this. So far, this seems pretty identical to the original. Other than that part of making this suck less forceful. Timing on that seems a little fucked up, as evidenced by me taking a hit. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna stick with Diddy. Dixie's kind of like the, she'll be the backup. 'Cause I usually get hit by this part anyway. Like, I'm not, like, super good at, like, damageless shit for this fight. I'll give... Oh, damn. Well, fuck. That's not good. Might actually fail at the final section. Unfortunate. Yeah. I'm not super great at this part. Yeah, I fucked it up. They are more lenient, though. Okay. Oh, fuck them. I say they're more lenient as they get me with it anyway. It is easier, some parts of it, but... unfortunate. Maybe I should have stuck with Dixie for that section to begin with. Maybe I was... because I probably wouldn't have gotten hit by the red shit at all if I, had just been Dixie for that. Fuck. Okay. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it really does seem like he moves faster. Yeah, at least the final boss is a final boss, so, like, it being longer at least makes a little bit more sense than some of the nonsense they do with some other of their other games. Do you enjoy the extra weird, goofy sounds K-Rool makes? Are they entertaining? Really? That's unfortunate, because I might actually die here then. I thought I could squeeze through that, and maybe I could have, but... Yeah, see, this part, I don't know what to do about this. They, like, changed it. God. Alright, so this time we'll stick with Diddy first. Or no, we won't. That was the mistake last time, because we can just, like, go over some of those with Dixie. We might, like, swap back later. We'll see. I cannot believe I fucked that up. Really, man? Ugh. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to redo this fight another time. That sucks. I don't have any confidence I will get it now. I'm fucking doomed. I can't believe I fucked that up. Well, maybe I can believe it. I am very sleep deprived. Yep, it's over. It's funny, with that red part, I theoretically could have actually made it over all of those, but I don't really ever experience this problem, so I don't even know of that being a backup strategy. I had no fucking clue. Yeah, it's a real bummer when, like, the fights are the way they are in these games. This one in particular. Long, protracted boss fights are not a thing I'm a big fan of, and it is one of the things I don't enjoy about Donkey Kong Country games. Rare bosses are always, like, bottom tier. It's, like, definitely one of my major criticisms, even though I enjoy the games a lot. It doesn't help that, like, there's a lot of weird changes and stuff with these games on the remakes, so it ends up being a bit of a debuff on top of the lack of sleep. I'm sure I'll get it soon enough, but it might take quite a few tries. Yeah, this part's rough. Like, whatever they did to make this different, not a fan. Like, this is not accurate to the original. Especially this part coming up here. Like, what is this? Why is this so fast? It'd be great if I could just not get hit by the red stuff this time. Like, that would be super... Could we, like, maybe not get hit by the red stuff? That's coming up. Almost fucked that up again. It's a bit of a tight timing. almost got hit again. It's tough with Dixie because her throw isn't great, which is why switching sometimes might be the better move. Yeah, this part's fucking rough. It's extremely easy to get hit by this. At least we have a backup Kong. And they seem to have nerfed that of the effects of the reverse controls. So that's something. They did make that part a little easier. I think that's the killing blow, so we're good. Yeah. No? It's weird that they have a barrel here. Why do they have a barrel here when you're done? Whatever. So we beat the game. My 80% speedrun chat is ranked 145. That's where I placed, 145. I was going so fast, you see, with all the stuff I was grabbing on the way. Definitely an any percent. Yeah, exactly. 2 camera percent run clear. And now they're showing the Donkey Kong Country 3 area, I think. Or is this the 2 area with the Lost World? I forget. Oh, I think it's... Yeah, this is the area in Lost World. Yeah, he's talking about it now. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Full stop. I have no interest in doing the fucking hardest levels on this cursed version. I'm good. It's funny, though, because the Lost World version is an easier fight. Like, it's way faster. What the fuck is this menu? Here's our rankings. The Video Game Hero Awards. It's fun that they did new sprites for this. They definitely changed these completely. Amazing. Oh, this sounds very unfortunate, this music. Yeah, it's true. They got rid of all those. Probably rights issues or other things. I don't know. It's our whole cast of characters. This, feels a little bit uninspired. They don't, like, have any seamless transitions. Like, the first game on GBA had a little more work put into it with its transitions between the different characters and enemies and shit. This one's just, like, kind of fading to black and fading back to the other. It's pretty lazy. Yeah, like, they're just changing different biomes with no, like... Yeah, I don't know. It's not really, doesn't really look as good. And of course, the music's also just kind of fucked up. God, they're so green. Why are all the greens and reds in this so friggin' blown out? But yeah, like... This is exactly, though, like... I figured this out pretty quick that I have no interest in the mastery for this. This would be too annoying. I would not have a good time. And there's nothing really more for me to learn about. You know? I already know the physics are fucked up. And they're fucked up in similar ways to the GBA DKC1, so... nothing new to learn on that front. I don't know what that walk animation was. This is a weird fucking game. She just fucking just jumps off screen. Wow. Great. Awesome. Oh, you can't wait to see that new boss they added. He's coming up. Get ready. Everybody loves the new guy they added. Here he comes. Oh, look at him. Kerosene. Man, he had like 2 seconds there. They did nothing with him. They were almost ashamed. They were like, get him off the screen immediately. Yeah, On Guard is really bad in these remakes. The way he controls is so bad. It's the same with Rambi. Squawks, I can kind of, like, he's okay. Why didn't you clap? You didn't clap. What's the fucking point if you didn't clap? Radley's, like, not as good as the original, but there's, like, some things that are a little better about him, like his wind-up with the super jump is faster. But I think as a whole, Radley jumps, like, lower. They just jammed every Kong in here at once. Sure, why not? If I recall correctly, in the original Super Nintendo, they did not show this shot and this sequence unless you got full 102% or whatever, right? Like, you had to go full completionist to see this. Or at the very least, you would have to have, oh yeah, no, to get completionist, you'd have to... Yeah, the K-Roll fight's locked behind that, so... Interesting that they just shoved it in here anyway. And yeah, Espresso's just in the cage. Interesting. So for, I'm not sure if it'll be the immediate next stream. Depends. But Donkey Kong Country 3 on GBA has by far the most changes. They have like a whole new world of levels in that one. And they have a whole new soundtrack done by David Wise. So it's by far the most extensive remake. So, just letting you know that if you've never seen that before or whatever, when I do that one, I would tune in, if you can, because it'd be very interesting. And yeah, for whatever reason, Dixie's hair is not lit like the rest of the characters. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Sonata is like, yeah, the hero coins, the DK coins are a separate progression thing. It's just beating the Lost World and getting the Creme coin requirement for that. Yeah, there's a little bit more we're gonna look at with this version. It won't take long though. But there's like the mini games. We didn't look at any of the mini games because I was waiting until I beat the game to do that. I'm actually going to take a quick bathroom break. I'm sure these credits are almost done, but I kind of have to go now, so I'll be back in like a minute. Looks like I'm back just in time. Okay, so we got Diddy's Dash and bonus games. Thank you. So Diddy's Dash is time trial crap that's probably the same as it is in the first remake. But they might have retooled some of it. Let's take a quick look at it. So there's like a shitload of achievements in the set tied to the time trial mode in this. So like most of the achievements are this. I don't really want to do much of this because it's going to be annoying. Because the physics are bad and they made the game wrong. So I fully expect to not give a single shit, but I wanted to at least look at it. Yeah, it's very similar. There are differences, so it's not about score anymore, but when you chain enemies and shit, you get, like, time freezing mechanics. It also looks like they removed... It looks like they removed the, Yeah, I see what they did here. Yeah, they also removed the score, so it's just time. Interesting. Wow, I ranked 328 on the leaderboards. That's because I didn't use Rambi to do the speed up. If I did that, it would have been way faster, but... No achievement for that. Let's try another one. Hey, Felly. They probably have certain rankings, certain times that you need to hit. And you also have to hit, like, enough of the animals in those specific ways to get, like, the time freezes. So there's, like, certain ways they want you to move and play that, that'll get you a better time. And I'm sure they turn off the warps and stuff, because that's sort of a typical thing, otherwise you'd be cheating. There, I got an achievement for that one. Did it? The achievement was to do this in less than 30 seconds. Or whatever. We got a easy Chivo on that. But you get the idea, right? Oh yeah. Well, I'm around all sorts of places, Felly. I'm around all kinds of places on Twitch. I've been told by a couple people, I remember like one person in particular was like said at one point like a year or two ago where they were like, you are everywhere. Where like they'll just see me in a chat or whatever and they're like, I just keep seeing you. And I'm like, yeah. Oh good, you see how the physics broke there? You see what happened there, chat? The first game does that too. It's why I'm not going to get a mastery on this. Oh wow, I worked that time. Amazing. And I didn't do anything differently. What a cool version. And yeah, there, as you probably noticed, there's also, it's Diddy only. So some levels are going to be very difficult if I were to actually do the time trials and try to go for a mastery, which I'm not. Okay, we got that one too. But you can see if you're being Diddy, like say you're doing like, the levels where it's just way easier with Dixie, you could see this being arduous. Which is why I'm not interested in the set. But you get the idea. And we still have to do the Lost World if we wanted to get all of them. So I have to, like, unlock that and beat those. So let's check out the bonus games. Yeah, Diddy's Dash is exclusive to the GBA remake. They had something similar in the first game, but it's called DK Attack. Which, because I'm a sicko, I did get all the achievements for that. For the DK Attack stuff. I got, like, the S ranks. I did that off stream because if I did that on stream, you guys would have just been hearing me fucking grousing and complaining nonstop about how fucking broken the game is. So, let's check out Espresso's flight.
Tommy Fists donated 50.
Tommy Fists donating 50. That's very generous. Thank you very much for the support. So for those who are not aware of what the goal actually means, because you'd have to be a nerd and there's not an easy way to explain what the goal is, the AR kit blend shapes thing essentially makes it so that my facial capture is more one-to-one with my actual facial movements. The model is a bit stiff in the face. There's not like a ton of animation, nuance, and movement. Like, I can't really do many mouth shapes. The eyes have only so many, like, modes that they can be in, stuff like that. So, essentially, the face, when we reach the goal, the face will be far more animated. So, like, it'll be a pretty huge uplift. So, that's essentially what the goal is about, is to help fund that so I can commission someone to do it. So, very much appreciated. That's very helpful. Thank you very much. Let's check out what this nonsense is. I don't really remember this mode. Oh boy. Okay. Alright. How does this work? Okay. Okay. There's no flight in this. It's just jumping. Okie doke, and there's like feathers that I guess like they boost your speed like Mario Kart, and there's like other collectible. Man, you just can't get anything if you're like behind. They just grab almost all of it. I can barely even see my guy. He kind of... I know they're different colors, but it's hard to spot in the chaos. And this moves very, very quickly. I got one of those. I assume that what the collectibles are about is like rankings or something. But yeah, they have achievements for this in the set as well, because of course. There's like several of them. Like different tracks. Magma Spurt. Let's check out Magma Spurt. Everyone's favorite. And there's like ice. Water? That's water. Why is there water in Magma Spurt? I thought this was supposed to be... Where's the magma? I don't see any magma, and neither is it spurting. Just the background? Is that what we're talking about? Oh gosh. This is really rough. Okay, so one thing I learned is that you don't actually have to hold right on the D-pad. So it is an auto run as long as you're holding down the Y button. So you're only moving up and down to change your directions here. It's at least less strenuous, but... yeah, this looks terrible. And yet this is still preferable over the minigames in Donkey Kong Country 1 GBA. The Candy Kong minigame dance stuff is the worst shit. It's like straight up like the wall for me getting the mastery because it's so bad. So like this is actually at least something that like looks like you can do it reliably if you put in the time to grind it, which I won't. But at least I can see this being doable, you know? But yeah, the Candy Kong rhythm dancing minigame shit in that other game is so rancid. I have not seen minigames quite as bad as that in general. Like, it's probably one of the worst minigames I've ever fucking seen. So these are definitely an upgrade. This is still bad, though. Yeah, we get the idea. They're basically all the same. They're just got different backgrounds and shit. That is not terribly interesting. So we got Funky's Flights. Is this going to be the fishing minigame again? This is a piece of cake. All we have to do is take off and fly through 20 rings. No, it's different. So we got Superman 64 here. You can pass through each ring in any direction. Slowly land at the helipad. Oh, this thing. I remember this. Oh, yeah, this is not fun. Oh, yeah, this is terrible. I remember this. This is, like, pretty hard to control and memorize. And, of course, they have full achievements for this as well. Terrible stuff. Just terrible. I don't even know what this radar even represents.
So Ryu Hime donated 30.
Wow. The way that read your name. Thank you very much for donating 30. That is very helpful. Thank you. But the way it said your name is amazing. Okay, did I miss a ring and that's why it won't let me finish this? This is awful. This is terrible. Awful stuff. Awful stuff. So I heard this minigame is just RNG, so you have no control over the outcome, so that's pretty awesome. I don't know what the controls are, but we'll figure it out. Oh, you just, like, walk around and collect them while he's, like, harassing you, I guess? I could see this being terrible to do. Cool. What a... Can you not get over there? You're acting like you almost can. Yeah, everything looks pretty wrong. Oh, wow. If you get hit once, it takes away all of your bugs except one or something? Oh, that's amazingly terrible. Wow. So they just, like, completely remove all of them. That's certainly lenient. Good lord. That is rough. And I guess they have a two-player mode for this as well. I wonder how the achievements even work with two-player. Because I'm sure that you can do it in emulator, right? How would that even function? Because, like, I bet some of it could be easier in theory. Unless they just disqualify you. It's possible they just would disqualify you from the Chivos if it detects two-player. Wow! Look at that guy. It's going absolutely crazy. Yeah, all this seems completely random. I can definitely... Wow, that invincibility does not last at all. Incredible. What a time this is. Okay, so you can't even get by him at all. You have to go in these little alcoves or you're just dead. What a frickin' version. This is so bad. These mini games are so bad. I just feel compelled to do it one more time. I'm interested in the RNG of it, right? Like, I want to see just how bad it gets. It really does just seem to feel, just things land wherever they feel like it. Things just appear at random, like the invincibility barrels, just like wherever it feels like it wants to be. This guy just moves wherever he wants to move. Yeah, I could definitely just see this being just a dice roll of an achievement if you wanted to go for this. I don't even know what the requirements are, but I'm sure they're high. Probably like catch 30 bugs or something like that. Yeah, you basically don't really have any control over the outcome of this, so... Fascinating stuff. You also notice, too, that sometimes the game lets me collect them when they're buzzing around, and then other times they don't. Like, the hitbox for them doesn't even really make sense. Good stuff. I think we've basically looked at everything on this version of the game. Like, that's meaningful to look at. Essentially, we've covered the gamut here. So I think that's everything for this game. So that's your Donkey Kong Country 2 on Game Boy Advance. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed looking at it. It's a fascinating revisit of a game that I had played a decent amount on Game Boy Advance when it was newer. Obviously, these types of versions are not worth checking out these days outside of, like, historical gaming perspective and stuff like that, you know? Like, basically, that's really it. I want to play for... I want to do one last thing because we have a bit of time. I am starting to get hungry, but I figured that I'd do one more thing.